Hello, everyone, wherever you happen to be, and welcome to this third plenary session of TESOL Italy 47 National Convention. It is my great pleasure to welcome our plenary speaker, Laura Hope Baker, and I will give the floor to Maria Rosella Manni, who is going to present her. Maria Rosella Manni is TESOL Italy former president. Rosella, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria Grazia, for introducing me, and welcome to the 47th TESOL Italy Annual Convention to all the attendees and participants to this session. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our first plenary speaker today, that is Laura Hope Baker, who will be sharing her expertise in this session, whose title is Creating Room for Hope Through Creativity and Connection in the ELT Classroom. So Laura is currently the Leadership Fellow in the City University of New York Office of Undergraduate Studies, Academic Programs and Policy in the role of Assistant Dean for Academic Technology and Pedagogy. She supports initiatives across the CUNY's 25 campuses related to faculty development and recognition. She is professor at the Hunter College School of Education, CUNY, and senior faculty fellow in the Academic Center of Excellence in Research and Teaching. And her interests related to teacher-faculty learning, observation, and coaching, and the design of professional development. Recent books include Study Abroad in Teacher Education, Transformative Learning for Pre- and In-Service Teachers, and Global Perspectives of the Practicum in TESOL. That's a TESOL International. And she is the professional development blog author for TESOL and has served as TESOL's Teacher Education Interest Section Chair and the TESOL Affiliate Network Professional Council as an English language specialist for the US Department of State. And also as president of the New York State TESOL Affiliate, the winner of multiple awards for teaching and service. And she is committed to advancing the professional knowledge base of educators in ways that build community, inspire growth, and support reflection. So if you have a question, before leaving the floor to Laura, if you have questions, please use the question and answer slot. And at the end of the session, I collect them and address them to the speaker. Okay, Laura, the floor is yours.
Molto grazie. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for letting me visit Italy. Next time, it needs to be in person because Italy must be seen in person. So, ciao, welcome, benvenuto. Please go to the chat and say hello. Tell me what city you're in so I can feel really jealous about that. And I'm going to, I want to thank you, Rosella, very much. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were going to read that whole thing. You didn't need to, but that was very kind of you. And thank you, everyone, for the invitation. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Tell me your city. Oh, my goodness. Okay, here we go. So I would like to begin here. And I'm hoping that worked. Am I sharing my whole screen? Am I good? No, I'm good.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. All right, perfect. So, oh my God, Verona. Geez, you people are the luckiest TESOLers in the world. You do realize that, right? Because you're TESOL Italy, and it's just lovely to be able to be here. And I love the theme of your conference. So, if you can see the screen share here, I want you to tell me how many times you see the word hope in this screen. This is my first little quiz. See if you're out there. So please put in the chat the number of times you see the word hope. 1, 2, 3. There's more than 3, but it's a little bit on an angle. So maybe I'm cheating. Wonderful. So yes, you probably noticed my middle name. You know that expression, my middle name is, my middle name is conference. My middle name is pizza. My middle name is hope, speranza. So I was destined to be here for this conference. And I am really going to enjoy our time together. I know this is a webinar format, so I really invite you to please be active in this chat, because that gives me that feedback. As teachers, we need the feedback. So it's a great challenge to teach in these new ways, right? So please let me know you're alive out there and stay active in the chat. Be a chat cheerleader. So connections. I've put an address on this map. It's a little small, so I'll read it. Corso Montegrappa 33. Is that how you do that? In Genova. Do you have any connection to this address or this city, Genova? Or maybe you have just a connection to the region or a city nearby or the whole country if you're not in the country. So put in the chat for a moment, what's your connection to anywhere approximately near Corso Montegrappa 33? Anyone have anything? I'm going to look in the chat and I'm going to see what you got for me. Who has any kind of connection to that address or the city of Genova, a memory, a connection? I'm going to let you have just about 20 seconds. So go to the chat and let me know what connection you might have to that particular spot in the world. Wonderful. A lost friend there. Valentina visited a long time ago. Olympia has had unforgettable holidays there. Oh, Genova is very similar to my town, Civitavecchia. I'm probably saying that not well. Miles and miles, but some colleagues there. Okay. Hasn't been there, but would like to go maybe. So this is just my way of saying that when I was about 10 years old, my father had a Fulbright. He was a US history professor, and he had a Fulbright to teach at the University of Genoa. And I went there as a child. I believe that that's really where I started my interest in languages and teaching English as a second language, which has been my career, was from Genoa. And it's where most Italian immigrants left for the USA. Yes. And I remember that was our address. That was the only thing my mother made sure I memorized, other than tortellini marmellata, which I would order every day across the street. And place has such an important role in our experiences, and people, the people in those places, the memories. So that's a very powerful memory for me. I get emotional just remembering that time. And I really think having the opportunity to travel now, again, is such a blessing, but also traveling through Zoom, traveling to connect with each other in these spaces is really, really special. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a link in the chat, and it's to a Jamboard. So if you're on a computer, if you would try to go to that Jamboard, and it should look like this. Okay, and if you've never used Jamboard before, Maria and Rosella, are you familiar with Jamboard? Raise your hand. If not, give me a thumbs down. Yes, okay, great. So the way that works is you simply take a sticky note, you write a word, and then it appears there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and I am going to play a song, and it's probably really familiar. And what I'd like you to do is post single words that come to mind. So in other words, don't write a sentence, just put one word on each Post-it as you hear the music. Okay, and let's see if we can get a few Post-its going. All right, so here we go. Are we ready? Try to post maybe 3 words. They could be verbs, they could be adjectives, adverbs, nouns, whatever you'd like. So I see some wonderful words appearing, just really powerful words. The reason I started crying talking about Genoa, besides the fact that I cry very easily, I was just listening to that so many times getting ready for this presentation. How do you not cry every single time you hear it? I really don't know. But what I thought was really kind of neat was, and I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, make sure I'm on the right screen. Yeah. So you probably, when you hear that song, maybe like us in the United States, we think of Pavarotti whenever we hear that. The person that you were hearing, of course, probably you realized was not Pavarotti. And it was someone who is a student here in the United States. And I'll just play a little more so you can see him. Terrible to cut that song off, but I know we have a time limit here on our presentation. But I thought it was just so wonderful to see how obviously language, music, it's so universal. It brings people together, and that your wonderful stories, music, language from Italy is happening right now at a college. This is from a college nearby in New Jersey, a young student singing, and this is that idea of connections. So you've created wonderful words here, and what I can try to do with your words is to combine them, make a poem from them. I can begin to think about today's conference, powerful friendship, strength that sends shivers, stories to make us proud, teachers. I can combine those and generate all kinds of possibilities from what you bring to the table. So one of the things that I wanted to show you was a really neat tool, which is to do magnetic poetry. You've probably seen magnetic poetry that you put on your refrigerator and move those around. So I'm going to give you a link to this. Someone has created a virtual magnetic poetry, so you can have students listen to songs, generate feelings, put words, and then just combine them and recombine them however you'd like by just moving the magnetic words to the refrigerator. So as we embark a little further on this session today, obviously what I'm trying to tap into different kinds of approaches that we all use but maybe don't name all the time. So I'd like to give you a few statements and have you decide what you think about these statements, because I think they're going to inform what we're going to do now. And the first one is creative thinking happens mostly in the right hemisphere of the brain. The second statement is children are more creative than adults. And the third one is most creative when we have total freedom in our actions. Would you say that those are, how about 1, 2, and 3? Are they all true? Are they all false? Are some of them false? Are some of them true? What do you think? What do you think? So these are 3 ideas that I'm putting out to you. So in the chat, tell me if you think they're all true, or number 1 is true, or number 2 is true, if you agree or disagree or totally agree. Awesome. With number 3, maybe some people really agree with number 1. Great, I'll give you just a second for that. So a lot of people are agreeing with number 3, probably because someone said that. So then everyone agrees with the person who said it, which is another thing that happens when we have chat open. What about number 1? Oh, someone's disagreeing with number 3. Thank you. Okay, great. So let's take a look at these. These are really commonly held beliefs about creativity. And so what we're going to do is take a look at those and then move into some more of these ideas of how we tap into our sense of hope through our sense of connection and obviously our creativity. So let's take a look. One of the real common myths is that, creativity happens only on one side of our brain, and the other side is like this logical side, and that some of us just have this creative side and the others don't. And we look at students in that way too. This is someone who likes to do things creatively, and this is someone who's very logical. And we know that that is a very persistent myth, but it is a myth about our brains, because we know so much from neuroscience and how our brains are actually working, and that our whole brain is always firing off, and that all of you are creative individuals, right? You're all educators. You are constantly creating, recombining, remixing every time that you lesson plan. So helping us unlock ourselves from this idea that we are creative or we are not creative, and celebrating that our whole brain is there to be creative. And also this idea that children are more creative than adults. A lot of our students believe that, especially our teens and our high school, our adult students. But we know that creativity can't only be associated with young children, because creativity is really about persistence. I mean, this is a great picture of Alexander Graham Bell, but he actually was building off many, many science experiments that came before him. He just got lucky one day. So we're always creating and building off of many, many experiments, many trials. So remembering that things are not going to happen always instantly. And this idea of freedom. When we have complete freedom, do whatever you want, write whatever you want, say whatever you want, we get we don't know what to say. We don't know what to write, because we actually function much better when we have some kind of boundaries, and you can call them rules for engagement, or you can call them principles when you are designing tasks for learners. So what we're going to look at are some of these principles, and how having some of these rules or principles can actually bring in and shape and redirect some of the activities that we already do. So I love this quote. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. So it's a muscle, just like, you know, exercising or learning to learning a new language. It's just a matter of doing it. And so sometimes we just need, and I love going to conferences for this, because I love getting a few new ideas from my colleagues, my peers, so that I can practice more. And the more that we do vary the themes and riff and change up and remix, the easier it becomes to sit with the same material, the same lesson, the same grammar point, but come up with a lot of new ways to approach it. One of the learning frameworks that I really embrace, and there's so many learning frameworks that this fits into, whether it's social emotional learning or 21st century learning, et cetera, is this playful learning approach, which looks at these dimensions of choice, of wonder, and of delight, and how we can create those feelings and experiences in our lessons, because each of our lessons is like a mini universe with its own players, with its own actors, with its own experiences. And as we draw students into connection with each other, we can begin to explore. And as we, on the lesson planning side, bring in the novelty, the unexpected, the disruption, we can create that bit of magic in how we design our learning experiences. So these are what I call my magic principles, and they're not mine. They're just things that I've curated over time, and that I didn't always realize I was using when I was doing my planning. And that's true for planning English language teaching lessons. It's also true for planning professional development, planning for teacher education, whatever kind of experience you're engaging others in a learning process. I have found these to be helpful. So I'm going to walk you through these. There's 10 of them, and we're going to take a look at how we can make sure we kind of understand each one with an example. So the first one is related to connection, building those bridges. And I put a star there because that's really about connecting to each other as people, and also connecting to not just the facts about people, but their souls, you know, really connecting in a relationship level, and having students have that feeling with each other. And it's also about content. How do we get students to connect to content, and how do we connect to the content, especially if we've taught that content 100 times? How do we stay interested? How do we stay as learners in the classroom as well? Movement is another key ingredient for me. So we're going to talk about each of these in a moment. Tapping into the senses, doing the opposite, applying constraints, randomization, associations, withholding information, pushing divergence, and incorporating improvisation. So these are my principles. So let's walk through these. The first one I mentioned was building those connective bridges. We always do this. It's our getting to know yous, right? And it's how we connect to students' hearts before we connect to their heads. And it involves knowing about their home, their reasons for being there, the things they like to do, the things they're proud of, who they are outside of the classroom. And if you noticed when we started today, I asked you to make a connection to this address in Genoa. So it can be very simple. A lot of times teachers say, oh, I've done that already at the beginning of the year. I don't need to do those anymore. But there's an infinite universe within each of us, and there's so much that we can yet learn. So even taking a minute or two to help rediscover and discover new territory about each other is very, very powerful. One thing you can do is have students turn it into an academic skills type of activity. So if you have students, for example, doing surveys, and I'm going to give you the link to this whole presentation as soon as it's done, so you can take it with you. You can do very simple surveys with total beginners. What is your last name? How do you spell it? Where do you live? What is your first name? What is your phone number? And each student gets the same question or a different question, and they have to go around and ask everybody. And then they have to present the information they found. This is what I discovered about everyone in the room. And then, of course, as students have more language skills, you can choose any kind of question, give each student a unique, different question. So if you have 25 students, you have 25 questions. And in case you have 101 students, I gave you 101 questions that you can choose the ones you like, give each student a different question, and let them go around the room, collect the data, and then present it. So if it was, you can differentiate easily. You can have, have you ever been to Genoa? And we're just simply going to get a yes or no there. And I can tally the results and show a poster and show, wow, out of all the people here, only 5 of them have actually been to Genoa. Why is that? Why haven't more people gone to Genoa? Or whatever the results are of the data. So that's a way to kind of build in, and it can be about the characters in the story. It can be about the history you're about to read. Of course, you can substitute as you go. Bringing in movement is so important. Even if it's just simply, an arm movement without even moving out of the chairs. It can be things like, I'll have Maria participate with me. Maria, I want you to raise your hand really high if you're feeling amazing, in the middle if you're so-so, and give it to me down here if it's like you're not feeling great. How are you feeling, Maria? She's like, I'm sweating is what I'm doing right now until this is over. So yeah, so we can do any kind of, checking in on students, rating the activity, any kinds of things that just get students to get up and move. Just like that survey activity, it gets people up and moving around. That changes the dynamic. All of you know this. I'm not saying anything new here. You know that happens when you just simply have students moving around the room. Tapping into the senses. We tapped into music, our sense of sound, and it's very, very powerful, right? It crosses all those linguistic barriers. You can take bags and put a different smell into each one. Fresh cut grass, a perfume, etc., and have students smell and just they can guess what it is, and they can also evoke a memory from it. Think about, of course, we always have used realia in our language classrooms, but I think we get a little, we all get a little stuck in just let me just put this on the board, everything be reading and writing based. So how can you bring in just a little bit of music, a little bit of a scent, of touch, anything else that can kind of reinvigorate the things you're already doing? Do the opposite is another great strategy. So simply take anything you're doing and do it in reverse. How about, let's take a look at these, and I want to see if you can give me any of your ideas here. So for teachers, instead of teaching from the front of the room or front of the Zoom, what could be the opposite of that? What's the opposite of grading the homework? Instead of grading the homework, what could we do? Instead of telling the students right up front the objectives of the lesson, what could we do? So I'm going to give you a chance to just put into the chat, if you have the opposite of any of these, I'd love to see one. Just an example would be great. Okay, perfect. So instead of teaching in front, I teach among. I sit among the students or in the back of the room. Wonderful. Get students to grade the work. Okay, and let's just stop there before we even go. How often, though, do we do those things? We tend to revert to what we just have done. So we always teach in front of the room. We always grade all the homework. We always check the attendance by calling names. So just try, perhaps in the next couple of weeks, just do the opposite. And think about how that principle can apply to any activity that you're doing. Instead of writing a poem that goes forward, have the poem go backwards. Instead of writing a skit with students, front, beginning, first, second, next, then, start at the end. Start with the then and then go backwards, right? So is someone saying what this is Plenary is about? Okay. This is great. So these are just, again, principles, not necessarily that you can use in every instance, but can it be thrown in there to just turn things a little bit? No problem. Apply constraints. This is a really powerful one. So if I ask you to tell me about this picture, all right, in the chat, why don't you tell me something about this picture? Keep quiet. Is that about this picture, or is this people yelling at each other in the background? Okay, it's very colorful, it's soothing, nature, okay. All right, so now if I tell you, I want you to tell me about this picture, but you can only use words that have no S. Tell me about this picture, but only use words that have no S. Wonderful, awesome. That's great. See, that already is pushing us into a new direction. Okay, now I'm going to give you another rule. You're going to talk about this picture or write about this picture, but only use words that have no S and one syllable words. Okay, so now give me one syllable words that have no S that are about this picture. Ooh, wonderful. Fun, bright, blue. Wow, great, excellent. Okay, so you get the idea, right? And as soon as we add some kind of a constraint to what we normally do, we wind up invigorating the activity. So instead of giving students a picture, write about the picture, give them a constraint around it. And you will automatically push some of that creativity and that sense of play. Another one that's wonderful, of course, is to add some kind of choice or a combination of choice and sort of randomizing. So let's take a look at that one. All right, so this is something called story dice, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I'm going to see if I can pull it up here. Okay, so what I do is I can just roll. Let's see. And I'm going to have you create a story from these pictures. You don't have to put them in any order. You can put them in any order you want. So there's some choice there, and there's some randomization as well. Do we like these pictures? If we don't like these pictures, let's roll again. Let's see what we got. Okay, so I can do so many things as soon as I bring in randomization. I can then really see and assess what students are going to bring to the activity. I also don't have the same paragraph to read 30 of the same thing, which is death to us teachers. We need variety as well. We need to be surprised as well. So when I don't know what the students are going to say, I'm a lot more interested to read what they've written. And I can even let them you're allowed to X out one of the dice, throw away one of them that you don't like. And you have to use the rest. So that again creates some kind of feeling of choice, and that automatically enables students to feel more connected and more motivated, and it forces them to be creative, because what am I going to do with these pictures? I really don't know. Let me come up with another one. Okay, wonderful. Another principle is this idea of associations. Associations are really metaphors or analogies, and they help creativity. And the more you do them, the better you get at them, just like analogy work. So this is credited to Gabriel Diaz-Maggioli, who some of you might know. I got this image from him. So you can do something like ask students for a letter and a number. So I have D1. Okay, what do I get? So that adds that randomization. I have a light bulb. So how is a light bulb like attending TESOL Italy? Oh, attending TESOL Italy is like a light bulb because, and I have to come up with something. So I'm going to make this a choice activity though. You choose one of these pictures, one of these images, and I'd like you to put an association, a metaphor into the chat, okay, about TESOL Italy. So and along the top, we have the walking stick, the lightning rod, the scales. Row 3, we have a magic wand, the magnet, etc. So pick an image that you like, that you think represents something, or you can make an association with TESOL Italy, and write it in the chat. So pick an image. The clock is like TESOL Italy because that's great, Olympia. TESOL Italy is like a magnet because it keeps us locked to our computer on a Saturday morning. What's a Saturday to a teacher? It's just another day. Oh, a key because TESOL Italy opens up the world. TESOL is the key to teaching English. Footprints. It suggests ways to leave footprints in our students' hearts. 5C is a bridge. TESOL Italy is like a bridge connecting people. So what you can do is even have students, you can use this for anything you're talking about, no matter what the topic is. And after they've chosen the one they like, oh, I see magnet, I see key, I see light bulb, force them to use a different one. And you know what? You could make a metaphor about every one of these pictures related to TESOL Italy if you needed to, and that's going to push your creativity. All right, wonderful. Next principle is withholding information, and that's one that we use a lot in our teaching and is very powerful. So there's some really nice tools for withholding information. You know, the classic one is students are sitting back to back. One person has the picture, the other person doesn't. And that activity always works, right? Because it creates laughter, it creates talk, because you've withheld from one partner A what partner B has. So I want to show you this, this really cool tool. It's called Image Reveal. So you can make as many squares as you want, up, you know, make it go to 100 different squares, whatever. And then I'd like you to, in the chat, give me a number that you see here on the screen, and I will reveal one part of this picture. So anyone who puts in the chat, okay, 43. I'm going to open 43. Let's see. Let's take a look and see if we can guess what it is. All right. So I've opened 43. Can you tell already what this is? Anyone want to guess? Oh, that's beautiful, Monia. I will. All these tools are embedded in my slide deck, and you're going to get it as soon, if you stay to the end, stay for another few minutes, and then you're going to get the whole slide deck. It looks like a foot or a leg. Okay, would you like another picture? Tell me what number you would like now for me to reveal. 44. Okay. And maybe 42, Francesca says. I'll go to 34 from Valentina. 33 from Maria Valeria. Are you getting what it is now? Do you think you know who? We know the artist. And do you know what the painting is? Which painting is it? You're recognizing the artist. It's definitely a painting. Okay, let's see. Let's see, what is it? What is this? What is this picture? I need to expand my screen so I can get to my controls here. All right, so we got it now, right? So you see, this can be done with anything. You can upload any picture you want. Everything is free, by the way, that I use. I don't like to pay for anything. So I'm very budget conscious. So this is a free tool. And what's nice is you could put a text. You could take a picture of a paragraph and put it up as well, and have students try to guess what the paragraph is to be about, etc. You can show and then hide. A lot of things you can do there. Another way that you can work with holding information is using Wordles, right? You're familiar with Wordles there, I'm sure, right? Isn't this like a thing that's everywhere? Yes, Maria Grazia. Are Wordles things that everybody uses?
Sorry, sorry, I was busy with the call. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So Wordles are a puzzle that appears every day in the New York Times. It's 5 letters, and as you guess each row, you're kind of told which letters you get. So here, you might want to try this Wordle later. I put the link in the chat. I've made you a special customized Wordle that you can practice. And I'm getting like a 5-minute call, but I think this is, I'm going to maybe need to go over by a minute. So I want to make sure that this, I think, is more important than asking me questions. So the next piece is pushing divergence. And with pushing divergence, what do I mean? So if you had to take this little picture here and you ask students to make whatever picture they possibly could, okay, they might, I don't know, really struggle with that, right, at first. And just like we said before, it's a muscle that needs to be worked. If you give students time, they can begin to create all kinds of different images from the same base prompt. And the more diverse their ideas, the better, right? So you can give points for people who are coming up with new ideas, or you can let teams work on it. And these, whether it's a picture or a word or a task, a grammar rule, whatever it is, how can you apply this idea of divergent thinking? Because we do a lot of convergent thinking in schools. How do we push divergent thinking? And then improvisation. We know improv is very important because it develops that strategic competence that students need to be able to negotiate and have conversations without Googling or translating or being frozen. So we want to play a lot with improvisation. So you can use an online dice roller. You roll the dice, you get a 1. I didn't like that. I'm going to get a 2. Okay. And then you do, you can make whatever you want. I call these dice breakers. You can create your own set of things that happen once you roll. So for example, if you roll 2, you have to stand up and mime an action that your partners need to guess. You need to run around the room as if a bear is chasing you, or you have to say spaghetti as if you just won the lottery, whatever it is that you've decided is on each of those. I don't want to make you guys anxious. I will wrap up. I see anxiety building in my presenter wings there. Okay. We know the Bloom's taxonomy has gotten a little bit updated. And so we now see creativity as really at the top level. So that's something that we can think about as we're working with all those principles that I was just sharing. And I wanted to do a quick final read of this poem, but I don't know if Maria, are you too stressed? Are you able to help? Or is there someone else who could read this with me? Is there someone who can read this with me? Rosella?
Sorry, Laura, but we have to stop the session because it's 10:46. And
No,
so
we can go on. We can go on a little bit, and then because there are sessions at 11, so we need to. Yeah,
which is 15 minutes from now.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
I can read anyway.
I'll end there then. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if there are questions in the question and answers part. There are no questions at the moment, but
a lot of congratulations.
There was a lot of participation, active participation to this session, and so we have to thank you for your inspiring, insightful presentation, which was rich of input. And at the same time, we also thank the US Embassy for making your presence possible here, and all the participants taking part in this session. Let me see if there are any questions. No, a lot of thanks. A lot of positive comments. Okay, so the next session will be at 11. And certificate of attendance will be available to download from the website at the end of the convention. Remember to vote, and you can have access to the form in the convention website. It's possible to vote until 7 p.m. on the same convention site. Okay, thank you again, Laura, for your...
Laura, thank you so much. And, we would really appreciate also that if you maybe would share also your slides so that maybe the participants can see.
Yeah, I posted in the chat several times.
Thank you so much, really.
You said that the road to happiness was long and winding. You said that the forest would get dark, and that the ground could shift here upon this hill we're climbing. No matter how close we get, we're still so far. But I trust we'll find the clearing. I'm trusting the trail. No matter what we're feeling, there's one way we can't fail. Let's just keep hiking. Let's plant our feet. Let's just keep hiking. Keep hiking with me. Hold my hand, baby, keep hiking with me. You said the road up to success was an impossible test. unless we had some sort of map. And I could feel it in my chest just as our feet begged us to rest. I think this just might be the end of that. But I said I trust we'll find the clearing. I'm trusting the trail. No matter what we're feeling, there's one way we can't fail. Let's just keep hiking. Let's plant our feet. Let's just keep hiking. Keep hiking with me.